This is a conversation with my friend Josh Huston from Brandish, an AI ops agency that has helped hundreds of clients around the States and the world to implement AI into their business workflows. Together, we go through what it's been like building the agency in such an ever-evolving environment that is AI ops, and what the future holds for himself and the industry in general. Without any further ado, let's get stuck in. We can kick things off whenever you want, but yeah, dude, I'm ready to go if you are. I've got a bunch of interesting questions. Nothing out of the ordinary. I do not bite. Well, I think. But yeah, dude, I'm ready to go. You want to start things off officially?
I think so.
Okay.
Trying to get my background just right. There we go.
Okay, so we're gonna kick things off with a quick fire round of questions. It's a practice that I started doing recently, and I think it's a nice little way to break the ice and get everybody in the mood. So let's go. Coffee or tea for your day?
Coffee with oat milk.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I sense a bit of like, geekiness in their oat milk special.
A little.
Most overused buzzword in AI today.
Efficiency.
Most important skill for entrepreneurs in 2024.
Genuinely caring about people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Best advice you've ever received?
People are more important than things.
Okay. Favorite no-code tool?
Make that come.
There's many. Make that
Yeah.
come. Okay, interesting. All right. So those were the very quick fire round questions. And yeah, hopefully the ice has been thoroughly broken. And yeah, I want to dig in a little bit into your origin story. Obviously, you and I know each other, but for the people who are viewing this or listening, I want to kind of dig into your CV and some of your past experience. So from your LinkedIn profile, I've seen that you've done a whole bunch of different things. You've worked in HR, you've done branding, like being a brand consultant. You've worked for the US government, like for the Department of Defense. And now, the last few years, you've been an AI operations consultant, or I would even say AI solutions architect in some ways. Can you describe the journey that led you to become that?
Absolutely. So the common thread in all of those different experiences has been working on the backside of the company. So in the business operations has been my common theme. And I've always cared about changing the way people work. Yeah. From my first role in the government, where I was a contracts and procurement guy, to moving into HR, which is what I studied at undergrad, all the way into the brand strategy. There's this common thread of caring so much about how organizations operate and helping the people in organizations innovate the way that they operate on an individual basis, which I didn't find a great opportunity to do in the government, because the government doesn't like to change. So I got a lot of no's over there. HR, same thing, that was with the government. And then when I moved into the private sector, that's when the rubber met the road in terms of change management and starting to take on the role of transforming. We operate this way. So I worked at a marketing agency in operations and took the team from just digital marketing services, just implementation, to installing. We get paid and we do consulting, and then we do the implementation. So I changed to more of a design and build model. Through that process, that's kind of what led me to the AI operations side of things, because I had experience helping teams move from just doing to, why don't we monetize our ideas because we have good ideas and solutions for our customers. And it's the same shape of service for AI operations. It's coming into someone's work, helping them identify areas that they hate doing, things that are taking too much time, things
Hmm.
that could be better delegated to a system that doesn't care egotistically about how it gets done, and then change the way that they operate so that they can leverage the tools, leverage the technology, and
I see.
capitalize on removing things that they hate from their job.
But what was the choice of jumping from HR into a marketing agency
Mm-hmm.
conscious, or was it just I mean, the question is why marketing? Was
Yeah,
it conscious, or was it just an opportunity to work for a marketing agency versus an opportunity to work for a car dealership?
sure. It was a bit of both. There was a local opportunity to join a marketing agency that needed people support. They needed help scaling the team, and getting things organized generally because they had no systems or documented process. So coming from an
Well,
HR background where
it's
you
a whole
can only get
process.
to a job description because there's a defined need and a specific role with specific tasking, which was super relevant. But then combine
Yeah.
that with the procurement job I had, it was servicing IT contracts in the most complicated red taped version of service contracting. I had $100 million worth of contracts under my management. And I was the scrub on that team doing the financial reporting and admin. So I got to
Well,
see what does a large service agency look like. Took that into my HR role for the people side, combine that into the marketing agency to install a new consulting program slash redefine how the operational flow worked within the team. That got me ready for stepping out on my own and pursuing the
mhm.
consulting side even more because I was very comfortable with a few of, I'd say, three of the five main components that go into the operation consulting side of things. So I
See.
had a skill gap when I transitioned into the AI side that I didn't know all the technical jargon. I wasn't super familiar with the technology beyond being an end user.
Hmm.
Um, but I committed myself to filling that gap in enough to
How
pick
did
up
you
no
feel
code
it?
tools. Yeah, so YouTube University was my top source. We started doing masterminds, you and
Yeah.
I, and I took courses from other builders as well to try and just get past the hump of I don't know how to produce anything technical. To I've launched my first
To
product, which was a brand strategy tool that replaced the 30% of what I used to do in the agency in 10 minutes with the
Mhm.
click of a button. That
Wow.
was my first kind of step into automation, and it was AI automation before what you see now and everybody posting that this year is what we were doing 2 years ago. um,
Yeah.
and that opened the door
Uh,
for all sorts of new opportunity.
uh, Now, of course, I kind of remember our masterminds. We should start doing them again, by the way. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I wanna kind of like fast forward into 2022 from your humble beginnings
Yeah.
to running your own agency, like being your own man.
Hmm.
Uh, what do you feel like the last what do you feel like it's been like, especially in terms of challenges of being on your own,
Hmm.
of running your own agency in the last 2 years? What do you feel like your biggest challenges were? Was it the technical issues? Was it a lack of clients? Or was it building a team? What do you feel like you've struggled with most being on your
Mm.
own?
I think being on my own, what I've struggled with the most has been the focus of there are a million ways to do this business. There's a million ways to do consulting, to build things. There's 20,000, 50,000 AI tools now. And laser focusing on we use five to deliver solutions for our clients has been a 2 year journey just to test. We love testing. We run like a little bit of a lab environment. So it is nice to explore new things, but balancing exploring new things with sticking to what we know works has been for me personally a challenge, mostly because I get all excited about new tools and I love the technical advances, and so I get all excited to send the team stuff. I go deep dive for a day and I'm like, wait, I should have written all those proposals today instead. Like just being focused on things that move the needle in the business has been for me my biggest hurdle.
Mhm.
And once I've locked in and gotten more focused in the past year, everything starts to change. hiring people has become easier, delegating work
Hmm.
has become more straightforward, and getting clients to the solutions that work for them has been a much more direct process instead of trying to, hey, we're going to take a new client opportunity and test a new tool at the same time on them. We don't do that anymore because that has
Oh, risky.
you you know the feeling. There's
Wow.
risk there.
Okay. Well, I mean, you and I have talked when we've collaborated on a few projects by now,
Mhm.
um, and you've alluded to, about the fact that there's so many AI consultants now that just by knowing how to use ChatGPT, somehow people decide to slap on that title on themselves. You
Mhm.
are far from that, at least from my experience. You've both have breadth and depth of knowledge and experience at the same time. A lot of people don't have that. They haven't been in the game for so long, but they still decide to slap on that title on themselves.
Mhm.
There are a few, though, that actually decide to take it seriously. What would you say the most important skill in the AI ops consultants field is right now, and how do you stay relevant as an
Mhm.
AI consultant?
Yeah, I think the most important skill set is being able to explicitly define the current way of something being done, which is not a technical skill set entirely. It is
No.
requires some technical know-how, like if you're doing automation consulting and you're trying to figure out what goes in the prompt chain, you have to know what goes in the prompt chain in order to recommend a solution. But you don't have to know how to pull it all together if you can clearly outline here's all the steps that they're currently doing
Yeah.
and here's where I know we need to implement AI inside of that mix. If you can define that much, you don't need to be the expert on all the no low code platforms. You don't need to be full stack because you can partner with someone who does know those things.
Mhm.
But
How do you
bridging
stay
the gap,
relevant?
right? The bridging the gap between the two is where you stay relevant because most
Oh,
of the
okay.
developers that I've met
Interesting.
with, tons of people, freelancers, people coming from 9 to 5s, people who are doing agencies, like they struggle with this process as the bridge. The more technical someone is, the more they struggle with, but like having a very clear path forward makes it really easy to partner with technical teams. So staying
See.
relevant has been for me working with more and more technical folks to learn how they think, to understand what they need in a requirements doc. And then on the client side, we don't do a ton of content marketing or what you would call traditional marketing. We do channel sales. So we've partnered with people who aren't technical, consultants primarily, who have client bases. Most of the time, our consultants are thought leaders in their own respect.
Mhm.
So they already
Yeah.
have a following, they already have a
Mhm.
client base, they already have a niche. And when we come alongside them, it's far less of a slap the AI agency label onto them as much as it is a partnership where we're going to go tackle their client opportunities together
Yeah. I
and
see.
help them gain enough knowledge to be educated, but where we can where we can maintain our competitive edge is that we have all these consultants looking at us for answers,
Yeah.
and
True.
that's from what I found to be a good position because in its worst side, you've got a consultant who's claiming all the knowledge that you've kind of shared and exchanged. And I'm like, once I got that past my ego, it's like they need to be that. They need to say that and do that so that they can win their clients over. Because I don't care what they say if it's my team showing up to do the work. That's
Mm.
from a
So,
like from a
so
competitive edge. It's the same. If it's the same guy with a different hat, I don't really care what hat we wear. And that's maybe it's a little counterintuitive to my branding days where you know
yeah.
brand image, logo, and brand equity was everything. And I thought when I first started that it would continue to be. But white label partnerships have been way more fruitful than um, pursuing the other way and forcing our clients to you know get
Just
outside
how?
of
Yeah.
them.
I agree with that. I'm not a huge fan of competition. I feel like competition is a thing of the freaking 70s. Collaboration is the name of the game these days. There's no one consultant or one consulting agency that can take the whole market. They simply can't. Not
Right.
because there's some kind of rule. It's the market is just too big.
Hmm.
So for me, yeah, it's all about collaboration. And it's not like that collaboration. Oh, if you can't beat them, join them. No, literally, join them. Like, uh, why go rogue or like annoyed? Like I was raised like that, where in Greece, where everybody was like fighting for the same chunk of the pie, and there was this sense of like the pie is super small and there's 10 people competing for the same job, therefore it's a race typically towards the bottom in terms of price. um, Nowadays, at least in our niche, I think it's a matter of finding the right people. um, Price, it's relevant to some, it's not so relevant to others. But yeah, I'm fully with you in terms of collaborating with other people. Like we've collaborated a
Yeah.
lot. Sometimes we need to cover AI stuff that you can take over. Sometimes we can take over some of the no loco slash automation, the boring bits that some of your projects might need, and it's been great. I feel like it's a fantastic partnership. Now, we kind of noted earlier that I think you noted that we did some masterminds together, which basically kind of means, for the people that are not familiar with the term mastermind, is that we sit down and we discuss our problems. Like, Alex, I have a problem with my automation. What do I do? Josh, I have a problem with my AI prompt. What do I do? And we help each other. We just exchange knowledge and exchange know-how. Now, you've also started your own agency, um, and you've been a leader in your previous roles. But how has your leadership, your personal leadership, evolved over the years, especially now that you're the head of your own company? Do you feel like your leadership style has changed? What have you let go? What interesting habits have you taken on?
Mm. Yeah, I think there's definitely been an evolution. Over the last year, we've focused more
Mm.
on growing the team than the year prior. It
Yep.
was mostly freelance
Okay.
for me. But as I started bringing on team, and we're at about 5 people now. So as we started bringing out on team members, what I learned very quickly was all the theory I got taught in school and undergrad about management and leadership was like nice to know, but in practicality, far less helpful than I imagined it would be. The biggest thing I had to change was understanding and as a personal discipline, choosing to share as much information as possible with my team about the
Mhm.
business, about problems that I'm seeing, about things that I'm unsure of, then instead of just trying to come up with the answers and give them the answers. It's like I've hired smart people,
Mm.
learning and believing, not just like that I have a reason to not trust them, but personally it was never my default to be like, oh, what do you guys think? Instead it'd be like, hey, I
Oh,
think that, and learning to ask the team and be like, how would you solve this problem? How would you do this thing? Knowing that when we train our team, we train based off of principles, not necessarily like just SOPs. A lot of people think if you just give a document that says here's how you do it, then that's going to be the law. But based off of the person that you hire, they might be bringing a completely fresh perspective and know a better way to do it. And that's for me something I've been learning and learning and consistently having to go back to the drawing board myself for because,
like not to micromanage people, essentially.
yeah. And these people are super creative. They're problem solvers. They're solution people. Like they understand that like what needs to be done, and oftentimes are just waiting for that invitation to share.
To
So
share.
it's trying to get past my job is to serve the team, not to make this business work. And the team can make the business work.
How do you approach failure? Like, how do you approach your failure, and how do you approach their failure?
Mm. I feel personally like it's easier to approach mine with them when I've messed up and say a client sent an email, I forget to send it along to the team, didn't pass the information for 5 days, we fall behind on a project, and it's 100% my fault because that information has been in my lap. In situations like that, I found it a lot easier to go to the team and be like, I completely spaced this. I'm so sorry. Here's what you need. Sorry, you've been waiting on me. Uh, versus when it's a team member doing that, I find the grace, and I almost lean on the soft side of leadership where I'm like, that's fine. And that's something that I've been learning that I need to like tighten up a little bit. Just like, hey, well, why don't we not do that? Because and go through the heat. You saw me do this last month, the same thing, and here's how I responded. I didn't sweep it under the rug. I didn't, it's trying to balance like the coaching component of what I would like communication wise, what I would like performance wise. If you have a problem, I'd rather you come to me. I'm never gonna be mad. Just want to know that sort of stuff is more difficult. Uh, Thinking about how do I help somebody else on the team versus myself, I'm more comfortable beating myself up, I guess.
Do you have any interesting books on the topic that you may have read and that you might suggest?
I think the best leadership book I've ever read was The Way of the Shepherd,
Oh, okay.
and I
Never
can't
heard of that.
recall who the author was. I've never remembered authors well, but the book is titled The Way of the Shepherd, and it's all about um, servant leadership, and that's been the most impactful. I think it's similar in nature to Leaders Eat Last, to that
Oh,
sort of.
I've read that one by
Yeah.
Senek.
Hmm.
Actually, I've read half of it. I
Yeah.
felt the reason why I read half of it was because prior to reading it, I was just finishing off The Dichotomy of Leadership
Mm.
by Jocko Willink.
Mhm.
And I also like read Extreme Ownership right before that. So it's like Navy SEALs, and they draw leadership lessons from being a Navy SEAL, from being in
Mhm.
Iraq. By the way, after reading those books, massive respect to the U.S. Army and what they did in Iraq. Like it back in the day of the Iraq War, and this is kind of like going a bit weird on a tangent, but back in the day, there was a lot of negative media, at least in
Mhm.
Greece, about what the US was doing. Um, but that book made me like understand that the media was saying one thing, and the reality on the ground of how extreme the situation was with the terrorists holding the city hostage, basically to their rules. It just made me understand how important that work was. So coming from these two books, Senec's book, like it was a bit too pie in the sky. It didn't give me um, so many interesting practical things. For instance, I always wondered, where should I be as a leader, right? Where should I be out in the front line, and like, and the example that the guys gave in the book, the Jocko Willink, was that, if you're storming a building and you have like a group of 10 guys, where should the leader be? Should he be like, punching down not punching, like kicking the doors down right at the front? Should he be right at the back helping the wounded get to safety? Where should a leader be? And I always wondered the same thing. Should I be building the projects? Should I literally be there in the trenches with the rest of the guys and build it? Should I be at the back and like Napoleon, master strategist, command everything from the back and make sure that, I don't know, we've got enough work? And the answer actually really surprised me, and it gave me a aha moment. And the answer was, you should be wherever you want to be. You should. Uh, One of the marks of good leadership is that you can move. You can be at the front for 5 minutes, you can be in the middle, you can be at the back. You have the ability to move and jump in, jump out without causing issues. The ability to offer help where it's needed is super crucial. So anyway, off on a tangent, but yeah, it's the next book, super interesting. Now, future of our work. Do you feel like AI is going to become so freaking damn good that clients will ultimately become consultant less, or uh, or will we actually need more consultants
Mm.
and people who do things?
I think more consultants because what we do in the role is far less technical than people imagine, especially when you talk about change management and changing the way people work. The human nature in us, we don't like change. No one likes change. And we have a working theory in our business that no one likes computers too. And so our baseline assumption is people hate computers, people
Okay.
hate to change, and what we're telling them is you should change everything you're doing and give it to a computer with
Wow.
AI.
Okay.
That's like that's a principle we operate under, and assuming and there because there's always people who are hesitant and we never really get the full story why. There's people who are super excited. We never really get the full story why when we come and work with a client. They could be two people on the same exact team doing the same job. I believe there will be more consultants in the future because people need a guide to help them get from where they are to their ideal future state. And they don't even know for the most part. Like the consulting questions we get now is like, help us understand what we should do and how to get there. And please take us there. Like, it's not like, hey, we want this thing, can you help us build it? And that would be like a more like, you don't need a consultant if you know what you want. But like you said, however many pies there are, like everybody assumes there's one pie and I have a slice of it. When in reality, I believe that there's a bajillion pies. And even within the same pie, like I can have a nice piece, you can have a nice piece.
Yeah.
We might not ever actually run out of pie. So I think there's more and more consulting opportunities, especially too because I don't know globally what it's like in Greece with the workforce, but like in the US, layoffs are happening very consistently now. Like more and
Really?
more bigger companies, because there was a holding period last year where big companies decided like to start working on, if they had not already, AI solutions for internal operations, which is
Yeah.
the AI ops game at a high level. But there was this holding period where no one released it. Like no big company was publishing, here's our AI solution, and we're laying off 20% of our sales force. But that started happening, and once it started happening, someone takes the fall, someone is the fall guy in the media, the PR and everything. They just get beat up. They just laid off so many people.
Yeah.
Now it's more common and there's less press, so it's like, oh, that happened again. Big company, Cisco just cut 17% of their force because they're AI now, and it's like those people are all coming into the freelance market, into the job seeker market, and
I
they have
see.
specialized skills, knowledge about the systems that exist that companies need help with. I believe there's a lot more people choosing not to go back to the corporate environment and choose to pursue their freelance. And I talk to people every day who are in that boat of, I got laid off, I want to do automation. I was a sales engineer and I picked up make.com in an afternoon because it came naturally. And those are the guys I think will be successful. The people who are coming out with white collar jobs that don't have technical skills to and don't know how to get started with their own sales or really building their own opportunities. Those are the people that are going to, I think, miss out. But by and large, companies will need guides. And I think there's a lot of guides available.
Interesting. I never really thought about it that way. That a lot of the workforce that gets laid off actually doesn't. Well, okay. I mean, it's an arguable point that
Mhm.
all of them, all 17%,
Right.
will want to become independent contractors
It's
versus,
probably a slim minority, but bigger
yeah,
than
because
previous.
Do you feel, in other words, that people are less worried about a steady paycheck and they're willing to take the risk of going one man band?
I think yes,
Is that the
mostly because the
case?
steady paycheck in the US was a promise that hasn't been upheld for the younger generations. Like
Interesting.
the like if you get a government job, that's steady stable. If you get a government contracting job, that's steady stable every 5 years because you have to re-up and you might change companies every time the contract gets awarded. Those
Yeah,
are the two most secure besides like medical. Like if you're a doctor, you have a job anywhere. If you're a
yeah, of
nurse
course.
or anybody like that, physician's assistant, dental, anywhere in healthcare, you're pretty stable. In that you could always have opportunities. If you're corporate, what the promise used to be was, and this was like for my grandparents, like go work for a place for 40 years, get a really sweet retirement package, be
Yeah,
set for life, live your happy, we just call it the American
live.
dream, white
Yeah.
picket fence, kids, grandkids, houses, cars. Now it's like that's those same companies that retired people after a full career are like the ones doing the layoffs. So the trust in the big, stable corporate job is gone
Hmm.
for the most part. Like I would see it to be more risky to pursue a career inside of a big company now
Wow.
than to do my own business. But that's also because I have a tolerance for the ambiguity and risk that comes with running your own thing. Not everybody has that, and I think that's where people
I think
continue
it's
to
rare.
go back.
Now, before we go any further, I would like to say that we appreciate absolutely every single person who watches this channel, and we're trying to reach a goal of 3,000 subscribers by the end of this year, 2024, December 31st, 2024. Now, I know what you're thinking, this is kind of like a lame target, but we're a small channel. So let's up the ante. If we get 10,000 subscribers by that date, I will say bye-bye to my most precious possession, my beard. Anyway, back to the video. I think it's honestly rare.
Yeah.
Especially, look, it depends on, I think, people's choices. Like,
Mhm.
if I had two kids and a wife, I would be a lot less tolerant to risk because I
Yeah.
need to know 100% where my paycheck is coming from. If I'm kind of alone and I'm a bachelor and I'm, 20, 25 years old and I've just been laid off from Google, maybe yes.
Hmm.
Maybe yes. But even at that point, if depending on what I was doing there, I could easily get um, uh, scouted for Facebook or for somebody else because especially in the realm of AI,
Yeah.
um, uh, those people are not really getting laid off. I think there's a hunt for that talent,
Yep.
or at least there's a hunt for talent of somebody who can do the sales job, but he also knows how to do it 30, 40% quicker and cheaper,
Yep.
leveraging AI,
Hmm.
knowing how to use AI to their advantage. Then again, in bigger companies, there's a lot of red tape. You like, just like in government, uh, like we've worked with some huge blue chip companies, and it's really hard to convince them to like even get a make.com subscription because it has to go through a bunch of committees and approvals that it's secure and what's our data going to be like in there, like what do they store, so what's the cost and all of that kind of spiel. So the bigger the company, I feel like the more restrictions there are. The smaller the company, the more flexible and groovy things
Yep.
are. uh, what about the future of all work? Like, I understand that you've you've been so involved with marketing, like disrupting marketing. Um, of course, you've done other things, but marketing has been a very common thread
Yep.
in your work, or marketing agencies, rather.
Agencies for sure. Yeah.
What about the rest of the industries? Do you feel like AI is going to take people's jobs? Is it people who know AI? There's been some talk that the next models of ChatGPT will be able to do quite a lot of agentic stuff
Mm-hmm.
themselves. In other words, right now, for the people who are maybe not familiar with the word agentic, workflows basically means that right now our AI process has been kind of like one shot. You write a prompt, you get a response. You need to check that response and you need to do something with it. But agentic workflows basically means that you deliver a request, build me a game of Tetris for, I don't know, for Android. And there's going to be different AI agents, different AI robots, one that does the coding, one that cross checks the coding, one that writes up the marketing, one that creates the website, and so forth. Do you feel like that's coming? That kind of thing is going to disrupt other other industries other than marketing, or is it just really that for now?
I think I think marketing has been on the chopping block from the most obvious standpoint this whole time. Um, the scenarios that I think are the most at risk are the ones where a company has outsourced a piece of a program. Say we work with some nonprofits and they do grant writing. Many nonprofits have outsourced grant writing to freelancers because they just don't have the skill set or the bandwidth to pull it off.
Yeah.
AI is really good at grant writing. Like, so in terms of like how this is as an example in what I think other industries and other people in similar positions might find themselves is companies then that find the grant writing tool or that build their own GPT for it are really excited and eager to cut that $2,500 a month person that's fractional because they don't need to outsource that piece anymore. But more than taking away the current work, I think what I've seen more commonly within AI is that it unlocks like the bandwidth that people don't have. Everybody in a job normally has like 50% more work than they can actually get to.
Yeah,
And
true.
as they gain efficiency, what's happening currently is like you learn how to use AI. You might be in ChatGPT all the time. You're using it to do your parts of your work. You start to eat into that extra bandwidth now and unlock things that you couldn't do before. Whether if you're like an analyst looking at, and I think this is a group like data analysts specifically are going to be on the chopping block pretty heavy because what they might spend a week doing to prepare a report off of a data set and doing all sorts of good, you know, data analysis work, like they're
Hmm.
doing good work, you can legitimately do in 2 minutes with ChatGPT. And if they don't learn those tools and
Hmm.
champion them inside of their organizations, their leadership will pursue, like, because that's what leaders are asking now is like, where can we find opportunities where we have multiple people stacked in the same role? Can we cut that by 40% and save the $200,000 a year and spend 20K on a build? That's more and more common, and companies are looking for those wherever a company has scaled up more people, like sales reps, perfect example.
Hmm.
Companies have traditionally had to scale up sales reps to get more sales activity
True.
to push the results that they're looking for. But if you remove, say, the admin slog of having to update Salesforce and update HubSpot after every sales activity, now everybody on the sales team has 40% more time. And if they're not jumping on creating more opportunity and more result because of that bandwidth, then they're just seen as like extra weight now. I think it's the it's really hard to navigate because you have leadership whose vested interest is make this business run as much revenue as possible for the least amount of money.
Yeah.
And good leadership I've seen, like obviously they care about their team, they care about the people involved, so they're not just looking to like cut everybody, they're looking to like
Hmm.
unlock everybody into the next realm of what's on the other side of you don't have time for that. But people who
What?
aren't going
Yeah.
through that process might just get rug pulled altogether because they're not a part of the conversation of how do we change the way we work, how do we increase the result. And I think result as a service is like the new a new buzzword that's coming out about what people predict agencies will be at. Like why would I hire a marketing agency to post all my blogs and write all my blogs if I could work with an agency who's going to promise impressions and conversions?
Mm.
Like, not just I draft blog, I deliver it, that was my service, give me my money. But now putting pressure on, okay, those blogs have to generate real results. They have to garnish traffic, and that traffic has to convert. It's getting more
What
sophisticated, I guess.
what about the mediocrity of that AI brings with it? Like I've
Mm-hmm.
been speaking to a lot of tech oriented folks recently, typically devs
Yeah.
who complain about the fact that AI is like the next Stack Overflow, where you just copy paste stuff and you never check.
Mm.
Uh, which it's something that I not relate to, but I notice
Yeah.
that AI in the hands of a non-expert feels like a superpower,
Yeah.
but usually the results, if not cross-checked by an
Mm-hmm.
expert, you can tell that they used AI in this blog post or in this whatever.
Yeah.
So do you feel like AI is driving that mediocrity even further? Because to me, it feels like we had quite a lot of that anyway. People
Mm-hmm.
who are trying to fake it till they make it.
Yeah.
And now they have this machine gun
Mm-hmm.
of, the stuff that they needed to work for now kind of is given to them, be that ideas, be that code, be that copy, images, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's a scary thing? That we're gonna be stuck with a lot of people who know only enough and only they know how to prompt, they don't know how to see beyond the prompt.
Hmm. I, it's a risk to like the workforce at large in that they are working themselves out of a job that way. Because like this is a perfect example of the blog writer, because that's I used to manage blog writers as part of the service agency I was in, and the difference between someone who could pump out a lot of work and someone who could nail it on brand. Like, I would rather get one good blog a week from someone who could do it on brand than someone who could give me 5 blogs this week, but they were all bullshit. Like,
Hmm.
the result didn't matter how much volume you do if the result is not quality that's on brand, that will, which would say on brand, we just mean will actually make,
Yeah,
like, be a meaningful asset to the company, wherever it's
and help
deployed.
somebody, like help the
Right.
reader.
Right. If you don't have that check of, is this actually going to help? Is this valuable? Then just doing more of the wrong thing isn't going to help. So for the people that are doing the wrong things already, like, there's plenty of marketing agencies, and I had a bit of this experience in the company I worked with. It's partly why I didn't stay there very too long, was there's standards issues. Like, if we're putting out bad work that's not generating results for clients, like, we should be adjusting what we're doing, not running the same program for every client that's not working for every client. There are so many agencies that have gotten away with that for so long. Like, I don't fear for their jobs. I want to take their jobs away from them because they're wasting money. They're just burning money for their clients, and they're not producing revenue or
Results.
whatever efficiency or whatever their metric is that should be measured to show they've done a good job. Normally they get away with it by producing reports that are all based off of interaction, likes, comments. Like, that's how these
Hmm.
people get away with, oh, this is how many impressions our blog got. Okay, great. How many people clicked the link? What was the bounce rate? What was the view
Yeah.
time? Like, those metrics that actually lead to the answer of, did this help, often can be avoided if you just don't present them. So people in those positions, and there's plenty of marketers who are shitty. I think I don't fear for their jobs. I legitimately think they should be doing something different because they're not helping. And I think
Mm.
with AI, the most obvious thing is let it write for me, and for people to just assume that this technology that's just beginning, like, on the bell curve of adoption, we're like not even past the early adopter phase. And for people to
Wow.
already have decided that this thing can do a better job than them is incredibly scary, because they're showing the point of they don't actually know what it takes to do a good job of the thing. So
Yeah.
when we coach and train people, we do like a training workshops and ongoing coaching for people. Like,
Hmm.
you can reach out to us and we'll help you with your ChatGPT issues. We'll help you solve those prompt problems. It's often, how do I get it to respond to all my emails? And we're like, is that really what you want your AI to do? Like, emails are how you build relationships with people. Do you really want to delegate that part of, like, the most important part of the business, which is the relationship you hold, to the AI? And if it's like, if it's a one shot situation, no, I would never recommend it. If we build a system that knows every single email they've ever sent, all of the writing styles that they've sent in their
Yeah.
text messages, their emails, what they say on phone calls, like, we can get a lot closer to emulating who they are. But even from an ethical standpoint, do you really want to show up for your clients as a ghost?
True.
Even if
True.
you had a flawless execution and a flawless implementation of the technology, like, that's the sort of, we want to challenge people to think through these things, because it's not as simple as an exchange. Like, if it's just the internet is full of all of our perfect agents who can write just like we used to,
Mm.
and they're just interacting with each other. If your LinkedIn bot's talking to my LinkedIn bot, and then we're DMing each other with our bots to try and, like, we're gone. Like, in terms of the future of the, like, workplace, like you asked, I'm in the woods chopping wood, working on my garden, and my AI is talking to your AI about how our businesses should do something together that
Oh
are
my
fully
God.
run by AI. Like, that's, if you fast forward what people expect to happen. Like, I
I think
expect to
that's
be
where
able.
it's going. AI, well, for some dumb crap, there's definitely going to be. Imagine a super powerful assistant,
Mhm.
because, like, these days, I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's a Hollywood image in my mind, where you have this super duper executive, like Devil Wears Prada kind of executive. And she, in the movie, had two assistants. Why am I quoting Devil Wears Prada? Anyway, but bottom line is that she had two assistants, and those two assistants, they almost knew what she, the boss, wanted.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going towards that sort of dystopian future where we have assistants managing our flights or getting us better deals or
Hmm.
returning this Amazon thing for us, or I don't know, like bots talking to bots, even within emails. I have a feeling there's going to be a weird renaissance of face to face,
Yeah.
possibly,
Yep.
because if this AI thing is going to continue to penetrate more and more of the layers of society or interactions between humans, I feel like there's always, because everything comes around and goes around, right? I feel like face to face will become that uh, the reason why you get a sale,
Yeah.
potentially,
Right.
especially when it comes to, like, maybe as an agency winning a project. You don't have to be an
Mhm.
automation agency per se. You could be, I don't know, some other agency.
Yeah. Digital
But
marketing, whatever.
yeah, whatever. Jumping on a plane, and going, meeting those people face to face, and showing up, and being able to show that, you know what, I'm at the helm of this business, and I I'm in control.
Hmm.
Yes, AI might be writing my emails, or we might have these efficiencies uh, behind the scenes, but ultimately, from person to person, human to human, you're paying me,
Yeah.
Mr. Client, and you're paying me. You're not paying my AI assistant. So I feel like maybe that's gonna come up
I
in
think
the
so.
somewhat distant future. Distant future, because in the short term, I feel like we haven't even gone to that place where it's indistinguishable to who
Right.
you're speaking to on the internet. Nowadays, you kind of tell that most chatbots are AI nowadays. Um, but I feel like it's going to become more and more and more. Like, recently, we did this video on Ask Leo, and there's
Oh yeah.
more of that out there. Where Ask Leo, for the people who are not familiar, it's like a service where it's an AI phone assistant. like a chatbot on the phone. And it's very convincing. It's not like you call a bank and the phone system picks up and then asks you to
Press
choose a
one.
menu.
Yeah.
Yeah, press one. It's not like that. It's much more like talking to ChatGPT. If you've ever talked to ChatGPT on the app on the phone, it's kind
Mhm.
of like that. So it's a lot more engaging. So yeah, we haven't even reached that, and I feel like we're going towards that, where interactions with companies will, even on the phone, and definitely over chats, and even over email, will become uh, what's the right word?
It's like
Systematically systemized using AI,
it's
and face to face will be the maybe the differentiating factor.
yep.
For some people. Whew, anyway,
It's can I make a comment on that? Because
yeah, sure, sure.
it's why I firmly believe people are more important than things. Like at the end of the day, business is built on relationships, and relationships are maintained through trust. And that's why, to your like earlier question about do consultants grow, does the industry for consulting grow? I think yes, because company people want to work with people that they know and trust, and the people that focus on that and then build trusting relationships with their customers and let that inform how they integrate and how they leverage these tools and technologies are the ones that will differentiate themselves. Like when someone sends me a custom email that's like, "Hey Josh, I saw it was 72 degrees in Bloomington this week. Hope you had a good time. By the way, buy my product." Like that's cool that you enriched the outreach with my local weather station. I'm not that did nothing for the trust we have,
Yeah,
because you've done nothing to create value to like in the there's no exchange of value in that.
but if they show up at your door, they're going to be
Yeah,
a massive creepo.
right, exactly. But I think in the long term, like what we're trying to position with our client base is like, and we've strategically started working with clients that are in more fun industries than the boring ones. Can we come to you? Can we sit down for a week and do the face to face? Because we can leverage technology as we're doing it to maximize, like every conversation is recorded and pushed into the system. The system is run by a combination of agents and people who are now doing the deliverable work in real time or overnight because they're on the different time zone. And when we come back the next day, like your departmental deep dive report that we talked about yesterday is prepared, instead of like when I was in my brand strategy role, we would take 3 to 4 months to do the consulting engagement so that we could build them a brand identity or a website or whatever marketing campaign it was. You have to do the strategy to make the plan, know what we're going to do, and fully understand the context. Right now you can all do that like live, so while maintaining the relationship. And that's where we focus now, is I try to spend as much FaceTime with clients as possible because it's all recorded. The recordings go to the team takes, like, whoever's responsible for that client takes the work, does their thing, here's the draft. And in part with automations, 80% of our deliverables can get pushed through way
Quickly.
quicker. That's where I like the use of AI is just around the relationship building process. And all the consultants that are out there, some of them are looking to the ones that want to get out of it want to build a product. That's like the common
Hmm.
thread we keep
Yeah,
finding. The ones that care about the relationships and want to keep going want to introduce the services of AI, building,
true.
consulting,
I've seen
meditation,
that as well. I've seen that as
and then
well.
the ones that are like really bad are just like, well, just let it. Why can't AI get me more leads? Get me, like, can you just automate my marketing? Can you just take care of the website? Can I have it generate video content? Like, let's just use HeyGen to do all this. You're
Yeah.
like, no, we don't like, because you don't care about the relationship. That's what I think separates, like, really everything that's going on with AI, like good or bad. You can see, like, where do they position people.
Josh, that's it from my end. I've run through all of my questions, and this is the segment typically in these interviews where you get to ask questions to me.
Yeah.
Questions, fire away.
Yeah, okay, here's one that I think would be relevant to your audience and people who are building their freelance career in no
Sure.
code or in, AI consulting. How do you recommend people demonstrate value, like communicate the value they're creating to their clients? Like say ROI is the overall. Like when you build automations for them, how do you help the sale by building confidence in leadership? What you're working on is going to generate a return for them. I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Okay. I'm not sure if I understood the question, but I think for people starting up, if you're an expert at whatever it is that you're saying you're an expert at, show us examples. In other words, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, uh, those things build trust in the fact that you know what the hell you're talking about. Uh, and you have to do that consistently, all the time. If I had one regret, and you didn't ask me about this, but I'm answering that question anyway, Alex, what is your biggest regret? My biggest regret is not doing this earlier, not
Mm.
doing the content stuff earlier. Um, but I guess there is a time and place for everything. So content. I mean, we built our agency kind of like on off the back of our experience with freelance platforms, Upwork, Fiverr, those kinds of things. We
Hmm.
became really, really good at that, popular on those platforms. Therefore, we gradually built out our company, our
Hmm.
processes based on delivering the service, and good reviews from that brought more clients, and a lot of the times clients brought clients, so word of mouth was at
Yep.
play. Um, Given the nature of what we do, kind of like a mechanic for a car, you're gonna take your car to the same mechanic, especially, I mean, I guess guys especially have this kind of thing where, we have our barber, our mechanic, we just have a guy. And I feel like a lot of our clients found us to be their guy for automation, no code, building a platform, and like operations, so to speak.
Hmm.
But we built that off of those freelancing platforms. The last couple of years, we started doing YouTube a lot more than before. Like come hell or high water, twice a week, shorts. And yeah, the response has been phenomenal. We don't even have that many subscribers, so to speak, but it's night and day compared to like the quality of the leads that we get.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous. It's not easy. It is not easy to do it. It's not easy to do 2 videos a week. It's not easy to do 5 shorts a week. It's expensive as well. My time, the team that we have set in place for content production,
Hmm.
it's like a whole separate area of business for us. We even recently had some of the platforms that we've used and talked about approach us to say, Alex, what would it cost if you were to run our whole content department? Like we've had that. And on the back of that, I was thinking, wow, this is like, am I going to become the next
Tips.
Linus Tech Tips in the sense, not in the sense, and not in that sense, but like there is that angle to it as well. That content these days can drive leads, and especially if you know what you're talking about, and if you do semi decent content consistently, it's not gonna go away. In other words, your reviews on Upwork or Fiverr or something like that, Fiverr is today, and maybe not will, and maybe will not be tomorrow. YouTube, I doubt that it's going to go anywhere. Uh, or Instagram or something like that, or
Hmm.
LinkedIn. I think these platforms have a much bigger crowd and investment behind them. So uh, if you establish your positions on these
Hmm.
platforms, uh, you're investing in your long term success. It's not easy. Generally speaking, it takes about an hour or maybe 45 minutes worth of editing for every minute of content with all the chopping, cutting, trimming, everything. It's about thereabouts. So it takes time, it takes effort, it takes creativity, but it's well worth it. So also it will set you apart as a consultant to because there's not a lot of consultants that do that, uh, let alone do it well.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's hopefully I've answered your question.
That's good for me. That is what I need to hear more than anything. As so something I took from the very beginning of that too, that I think a lot of people miss when they are getting started was that you started from a place of expertise. Like you knew how to do the thing, then you demonstrated that you can do the thing. And obviously your skills refine over time as you get like doing this internally. Like if you were a make.com no loco inside of your job in a company for
Mm,
one brand, doing it
yeah,
for a lot of brands is different. There's all different skill sets, but like you came
yeah.
from a strong IT leadership background with technical skill set. Doing this type of work was in your wheelhouse. And I think oftentimes people, especially with AI, they're trying to
So
no
it,
skill.
it wasn't 100% because I
Yeah.
think you nailed it there. I was great at being an IT leader at one company.
Hmm.
It's a very different ball game if you want to offer proper services, not just pie in the sky consulting. This is how we would do this, Mr. Client, and then oh, sorry, you want me to do it? No, I've got like Josh who can build this for you.
Hmm.
Pie in the sky consulting is easy. Doing it, maintaining it, changing it over time, and doing that for years is difficult. Also, uh, coming back to the previous point that I was trying to make, just because you can do it for one, when I started out as a freelancer, I always had this notion that freelancers are kind of like ninjas, and that's not true. But I always began thinking that hey, you know what? He's a freelancer. That means that he's like a expert of all trades, of all aspects of a topic. I quickly realized that no, it's not true. Uh, I utilized one simple trick, and it's not even a trick. It's actually truth. When I was in a meeting and I was asked something that I didn't know, I simply said, you know what, Mr. Client, I'm not sure. Let me come back to you in a few hours after the meeting, and I'll let you know what we need to do about this. And I delivered on that. Eventually, I kind of realized that look, Alex, it's easy. You just the stuff that you don't know, just say that you don't know. You don't have to bullshit somebody
Yeah.
into, well, yes, like people can see through bullshit very easily in this day and age. So saying that you don't know something and coming back and doing the research and keeping your promise that you're going to get back to them in an hour, in a day, whatever, that's totally fine. It's totally acceptable. And a lot of consultants fear that. They don't, they don't do consulting because they're scared of failure. Um, but yeah,
That's a brilliant piece. The it's okay to not know it all, and then I think people think if they don't know it all, they can't be helpful. versus the helpful thing to do is say, I don't know, but I can help find out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an ego. I think it's also like an ego skill set of like,
It is.
you
It
don't have
is.
to
It
know it
is an
all.
ego thing. It is an ego thing. It's a deeply rooted um, problem that I personally had. That no, you can't do consulting unless you know everything. Well, truth is, Alex, 90 out of 100 things that you know, let's say there's 100 things for a consultant to know. You know 85. That
Mhm.
85 is already super useful to a lot of people. And that 15% that you don't know, that's fine. When you encounter it, just say, you know what? I'm not super sure. Let me find out. And that opened up a lot of doors. Also, knowing how to sell, boy, oh boy, a
Yeah.
big door opener. It's not just being an expert at something. If like if being an expert was gonna make you rich, well, then why aren't college professors super loaded?
Yeah.
Some of them are, but truth be told, it's not just about um,
Knowing.
who, like what you know, uh, but it's also about who knows you, and and um, and being able to project yourself in a way that says, you know what, I'm an expert. I understand your needs. Been there, done that. You can talk the jargon of their particular vertical. So if they're in aerospace, you can start talking about, IATA codes for the aircraft or for the flight, or if they're in AI, you can talk about, or maybe not in AI, they're in sales or something. Talk the talk, essentially. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's so many different things, but um, yeah, we definitely did it the wrong way around. We should have started with content. Uh, hard as it may, hard as it might have seemed.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it would have been harder to do both. Great service, um, you know, a great skill set on delivering projects, but also reaching out. Uh,
Mhm.
um, we did it the other way around. It's worked. It has worked. It's okay.
So solid. I think that is the content first paired with expertise. Those are the
Yeah,
two.
for the
Do something
beginning,
you're good
for
at.
somebody who's
Make sure you
starting
say it.
up, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Great.
So, Josh, that's it for me. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think this was awesome. Thanks, Al.
Dude, I'm super thankful that you've agreed to this. Let's pencil this in a year and see how the industry has progressed, how Brandish has progressed. Um, and yeah, looking forward to catching up. We've got projects that we're working on together right now, so I'm sure we'll talk more offline. But yeah, dude, massive thanks, and we'll do this again in a year.
Absolutely. What a treat.
Thanks, Joshi. Cheers.
Cheers.